Okay, so what I'm going to show you is kind of a cool little trick. I call it the cutout tool trick. Now, I usually do this to kind of smooth out certain things as far as complexion or, just to be honest, you can use it for a lot of stuff in general. So what we got pulled up here right now is our, added little DVD tutorial, template that you can go through all that stuff. In past episodes we've gone through, fixing up eyes, and basically, fixing up complexion, via a clone tool, via blur, a couple other tricks, so we went from that, with kind of blemishes to kind of a smoother, looking portrait. So, once again, you had before, the basic photo, and then after. So we're getting a little bit better. Those eyes are still a little too prominent. I'm gonna blur, just put them down a little bit so they fit in. Okay, so now to our work on the cutout tool. So here's what I'm gonna do. This is our image right here, the background thing. We got the eyes left, that we kind of added on top, to make them a little more prominent. So we got the background image, so what we're going to do is duplicate that, not the eyes part. So duplicate, so now you see right here, you got background copy, so it's basically two of the same files, So here's what we'll do. I'm going to drag this one underneath it, and I can rename it, if I want to. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to call it Cutout. Okay, so I got Cutout, right? And then I'm going to rename this one Original. Okay, so we got the two. Original Cutout. So I'm going to select Cutout. I'll even mute this, or, solo it up basically. I'm going to go to Filter, Artistic, Cutout. So now what it's going to do is it's going to give you kind of a broad, basic, looking cutout version of your photo. It's a free, plugin that comes with any, Photoshop, basically. And we're working with a big file, so it's kind of going a little slower than I expected. So, you notice a lot of green. I shut them against a green screen, so we can chop that out, add them to a background. I'll show you how to do more of that later. So what we're going to go for is we're going to kind of do just like a basic, kind of more simplistic, man, I really don't want that green in there. It's kind of ridiculous. It's taking so much of it. So I'm messing around with the presets a little bit. Boost up the number of levels. I'll even make it more simplistic. Hopefully some of the green goes out. I'm just kind of going for a smooth, looking thing. And I mean, he looks like a monster right now, but you'll see what I'm doing here in a little bit. So let's go with that. It's kind of, you notice the nose, the mouth, it's kind of more smoothed out. So I'm going to go with that. So obviously not what you're, trying to send your client as far as what you want, in your photo. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take out all this green just to be safe in the cutout version. So I'm going to hue saturation, greens. I'm going to dip the saturation out totally. So, I'd rather have black or even white in there than that green. It's really irritating. So, I'm cutting out the green from our cutout version. So here's the next step. I'm going to go to Filter. I'm going to go to Blur. And then I'm going to go to Motion Blur. So that's kind of smooth out. I'm going to do just a very small amount, blur, something like that. Let's go and try that. Okay, so now you got kind of this just generic kind of smoothed out undertone. His arms look kind of dumb, so let's go ahead and and use that R tool. You just hit R and there's a blur. You can kind of blur them a little bit more if you wanted to. I'm probably going to avoid using the arms with this cutout technique. So we got this underneath. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take our original again, and basically bring it back in. So that's the original good looking thing. So we got that. So here's what we're going to start doing. I'm gonna duplicate this just to be safe. Always paranoid. Drag it underneath, undo it, just so I have that for reference. And once again, you should be saving this like every 2 seconds. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring up your erase tool, which you can hit E, and that will bring it up automatically, or you can actually hit the eraser right here. So right now, whatever I was doing prior is a huge thing. So what I'm going to do is just bring out kind of a blurry little square, generic, dry media brush will work. And what I'm going to do is turn my opacity down really, really low to 12. So check that out. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to kind of look at this, see some of the smoothed out areas, that I might want to kind of blend in, mainly the cheeks and such. So let's go ahead and erase this original, with that 12 opacity, and it's hard to notice anything right now, as far as, what we're doing. But what we're slowly doing is we're just kind of smoothing out this stuff. I mean, if I mute out that, you're going to start seeing, the negative space that's in the cheeks that are being filled up by, our cutout guy right here, which just kind of uniforms the certain things that we wanted to. And I'll hit R just to kind of smooth it out even more to blend the two together. So I'm going to add a little bit more. There we go. I'm kind of erasing, cheeks. Maybe even a little of the nose. I'll bring out that R button again. Blend that one. And then I'm going to click on that, blend this one. It's kind of merging a little bit. Okay, so, what we got now is cheeks, are now being filled up by this garbage. But the cool thing is kind of becoming kind of a more smooth version. So by doing this, you can actually, specify which portions of the human face or body you want to edit. So, you even get control if you wanted to, by adding, brightness, contrast to the actual cutout version. And we wouldn't do this. It's very visible, the difference. But, by taking kind of the generic, maybe just boost it up a little bit and you kind of get a little glow to the cheeks. So, that's pretty cool. So another thing you can do if you want to have it smoother, you just blur it out a little bit more. And once again, this is getting blurrier and blurrier. I'll even to make this dramatic, I'll add another motion blur. Increase the distance even, maybe let's try that. So now, I mean, you wouldn't notice unless you saw this tutorial that we basically took out these chunks, kind of smoothed it out, and what I encourage you to do is maybe just kind of add little contrast, maybe a little brightness to the cheeks, but not enough where you start noticing the cutouts that we did. And if that's the case, I would even suggest boosting it up where you can kind of see it, then going back, erasing some of the stuff and just kind of, whoops, erasing the wrong thing. Check that out. Oops. You can notice these squares I was chopping out. So yeah, let's go ahead and erase a little bit more so it's a little smoother. You start to see some of this, those lines are going away. Another cool little tool you can do is, I have tons of brushes. I'll bring up a, like a cracks in the wall kind of tutorial, or cracks and wall brush, which I'll talk about in a separate tutorial, but I'll kind of get the crack one and just kind of nudge it in a little bit, so this is obviously too bright, so what I'm going to do is dip it down. But with the cracked template, which you'll notice here, I'll push to 100%, it just kind of adds like a crack kind of grain, so it blends together. So I'll talk about that more in a separate tutorial, but basically what we did was we added these cutouts, kind of chopped out some of his cheeks, stuff like that. And what I'll do, and I just did this to be dramatic, was boost the contrast up this much. I mean, we could lower it, lower some of that contrast too, just so it works. It's kind of like a blush on a cheeks, kind of a smoothness, that we'll edit later when we add more contrast to it. So now we got kind of a uniform thing, which I'll even add that R button, kind of blend it, because I can vaguely see some of these chops. So R button, smooth out. So there we go. I mean, we got basically now, smoothed out face. I mean, this was the original. It's kind of good anyway. But sometimes you have a client that you need kind of boost it up. So as small as that is, once we do smash everything, you know, as far as, you know, Control E, combining everything, and image, you know, brightness, contrast, you know, it's going to start all blending together. So you're not even going to be able to tell what we did, but, you know, definitely looks better as far as cheeks. It's kind of more uniform. There are plugins that do that kind of thing a lot quicker for you. You know, I've talked about one before. Noiseware, I believe, makes one. I can't remember, but yeah, there are some templates that you click a button, it might smooth out some of the things, but you know, it's always beneficial and helps, you know, to know a couple manual tricks that you can do, so you can get really in there and start, you know, working on that stuff. So, you know, that's basically how you use cutouts to kind of smooth out your skin.